Remix. 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 Remix.
Oh, yeah. Welcome out once again. This is the Remix Morning Show. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and this is Black Liberation Media. Yes, and it is time for the Boom Bap Breakfast, and we are giving you the best right here. Now, let me introduce you to my host with the most. Let's start off with LJ. Kamal K. Franklin. And that's it for now.
Yeah. Peace, everybody. Well, we kind of got the black-white thing going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The wardrobe, you know what I'm saying? Look at that.
See,
We didn't even coordinate it.
Yeah, I know.
Nice.
Watch the others come on and mess it up, though.
Some bullshit. You know
I know
what I
what
mean?
I'm saying? Somebody type them. Say something to them before they come on the air.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll text them.
Yeah, right. So, that's right. You are out and about on the road, like what you said yesterday, Kamal. And what about you, LJ? What's been up with you?
You know, when you ask me, your doctor, I always don't know because it's already Wednesday. So I'm like, what happened on Saturday? That was a long time ago. I don't know. But
I mean, during the week since we last seen you.
you know, chilling, getting ready for school. School's coming back in a week, and I'm not ready, but you know,
How close are you to the end?
this is my last year, hopefully.
Oh.
What?
What?
You about to head to the big leagues, huh?
Yeah, I might have a few more letters after my name. So, you know, yeah.
Are you going to teach, write, do a little bit of both, research?
A little bit of both, I think. I'm not sure. I think I do want to do a PhD, but I don't know if I want to go directly into it, but we'll see.
And how long till you get your own church?
Could be. I don't think I want to do it right away, though. But
wait a minute, that's a serious question? You're trying to get a church?
Yeah. I mean, so really you can choose parish, community, and I think I want to do like community stuff. I think there's a lot to be done with talking about the intersection with religion and politics, especially what's going on in Palestine. So I'd love to do like speaking and writing. Yes,
I'm going to let you do that.
That's why I'm a Unitarian Universalist, but also there are great, you know, interfaith coalitions. You know, you've got Jews Voice for Peace. You know, there's a lot of like progressive, radical. Well, not a lot, but there's a few places that will let me do that.
Okay, and they're gonna pay you? Oh, so sorry. I got more questions.
Supposedly.
This religious area, it all is fascinating.
It is.
Fascinating.
But speaking of progressive and radical, Erica Kane.
Hey.
And got yellow on. I knew she would mess
fucked up the whole color scheme.
I know.
It looks nice though.
Yeah, she looks sunshiny.
I'm not a progressive.
Look how she comes in just with the attitude, like, hi, Ricky, Erica.
Hello, everyone.
Sunshine.
Good morning.
God. Yeah, so she need that coffee.
Yeah, please. Slurp and burp. Now, that's what you do with coffee. Anyway.
Now they're going to pay you to do this. They're going to pay you to come talk about Palestine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm loving it. Maybe I'm going to be, what is it? I know, I mean, I've heard of it before, but I don't really, I forget all these things.
Actually, I would love for you to come talk to my home congregation. I think that would be very cool.
I love to talk to the churches. No, I'm good at that. I talk to the people in the churches. I talk to the masses. I've spoken at masjids. I've spoken at churches. I don't think I've ever had the pleasure of speaking at a synagogue, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad of the major religions or whatever. Yeah, the Buddhists have never had me either,
Work on it.
Yeah.
So you could be that preacher that pretty much is not the quote unquote gets all the money, congregations broke, and so you could be that one.
There's more than one, you know. There's like
two, three. My bad.
you have a code of ethics we need to abide by, you know, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Do you feel like the congregation is my bad? Real quick. Do you feel like the congregation is supposed to take care of the pastor? Because you know some pastors be like, well, I work a lot, I take on a lot, I should be able to have a nice car, a nice house, and stuff like
a jet.
You some leading ass questions.
A jet.
No, I think it's definitely, like I said, that's why the covenant's there. Like, it's not supposed to be just you. There should be a board there. There should be elders there that you're talking to. So yeah, I think it's definitely a collaboration between both.
All right, there you go. Speaking of collaborations, Kim Brown.
Kim Brown.
Hey, mornings. Good morning, Black
grab
folk.
that mic. You had to grab that mic. What's going on?
You know
You weren't
what I'm
quite
saying?
ready for that, right? You weren't quite ready for that.
Not quite, but Ear Doctor don't concern himself with such things, whether or
Does
not I'm
not.
ready.
Nah, not at all. Because I figure when you get on, you push that button to say "Let me backstage," I'm
You
ready
ready?
to go.
You ready?
Yeah, I mean, you would think that.
You know what I'm saying? That's how we professionals do it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
whoa.
Goodness.
Pardonnez-moi. Kamuk
And,
Franklin.
You didn't get the memo. It's black and white today. My bad. We didn't send it out to y'all.
Is it black and white for a reason? What's up?
No.
No, we just
No.
the top three we just coordinated for some reason.
Oh,
Then y'all came on.
We cute.
Yeah.
It's the primary colors.
got it.
Hey, bam.
Erica, what's going on? What's been going on this week? I know you've been outside doing some things. What's good?
Work.
Word,
Yesterday
word.
was Bab's orientation, so I lead that. So we got to orient new members and learn why they joined BAB, how they came into BAB. A lot of them named Black Liberation Media, alongside Black Agenda Report and Revolutionary Black Network. So folks have been, gravitating towards organization, just listening to things that we have been saying. I have to do this thing today with Kamal at noon.
You sound so happy.
Kenya and Haiti. So I
Here on Black Liberation Media, that'll be on here at Black
Nice.
Liberation Media.
What
at
time is
12
that?
noon.
At
12
noon.
noon.
Okay.
Oh, we gotta finish at 12 then.
That's
Kim.
fine. We can make it cute, a real cute hour.
Oh
over
my
on
goodness,
Twitch.
we got a full lineup today. It looked like. I'm
Okay.
telling you, we're gonna take a little quick break from 10 to 11, and then get right back into a new little thing. Not even little thing, which was inspired by LJ, which
Yep.
is called classical
Old people music.
breakdown.
No.
Yeah. What you call it?
What's it called?
Old people music.
Listen, and him, the oldest of the old people, right?
Well,
Right?
that's what she meant. Well, that's what she meant. She's like, I don't know about your old folks music.
That's not what I said, but
That's what you meant. That's what you meant. It's fascinating how you guys talk about the banjo and
Whoa. The blow jugs.
that washboard.
Right. But I'm telling you, I mean, Gen X, we had an unfair advantage about learning about the previous generation's music because hip hop sampled so much from, boomers' music, our parents' music. We was well apprised, and that tradition unfortunately did not continue as Black music in particular, advanced. So we have folks that don't know, and it's not their fault that they don't know. So it's on us that let us accept our mantle as elders and be elder and teach and shit.
True.
Do you think that though? Like when I listen, like my niece, she's a huge Chris Brown fan, despite all my railing, but she still remains a huge. But his albums, he does sample a lot of '90s music, and a lot of the artists in his age does. So even when they were growing up, the twins, they would listen to my iPod. My nephew, by the age of 7, knew Juicy word for word because they would always be with me. But when you hear these kind of samples, they know a lot of these songs because of the songs that they were listening to when they would be with me. So I'm wondering if that's the same kind of intro, because a lot of these artists have in the last decade sampled so much 90s music to the point that I want to be, the last night, like even that was a hit again. That like that got brought back. So I don't know. I just think it really is, to your point, Kim. I think it is a parent's fault or the adult's fault. Like, are you playing the music in your home or in the car? Like, because I'm wondering, like, how do they not know certain songs?
I don't even know how. I have a theory. Because I think Gen X parents in particular, maybe young millennial parents as well, they want to be hip. They still want to be cool. So they listen to the quote new music. That's what they play in the car. So the parents and the kids are listening to the same music, same radio stations. Me growing up, it was very clear delineation between my music and my mother's music. And then when I was in the car with her, I listened to her music, right? So I think now adults, while traveling with youngsters, are playing whatever will keep these kids quiet, which I want to hear. Which I want to hear. Ice Spice, cool. Let me throw this on this Ice Spice. So that's what again, that's just me speculating. But to your point, yeah. About music being sampled for the past 10 years, I would literally know nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? I do not know what the children have considered popular over the past 10 years. So if the sample game has been resurrected and it's active in teaching, I'm here for that all day.
I feel like they always, like, what's happened though, it's like folks who sample today, like they'll sample something from Biggie and then they think that came from Biggie, as opposed to understanding that Biggie sampled from somebody else. So I do think there is still, so I still think there's that little bit of is like there's still that little bit of history that's missing. It's like, no, they didn't invent that part. I mean, they freaked it, but you might have to go back a little further to get the origins of certain things. So I do think that happens too, because the generation will hear the old song, but it's not the original, way in which the beat came to be. So
well, that's why we're here. We're gonna start it off at 11, but we've been doing this on Remix.
Did you figure out the Twitch? Did you figure out the Twitch?
We're going to do this on the Remix Morning Show and have, as we've been doing on the Remix Morning Show and giving y'all these samples, letting you know where stuff came from, letting you know about the artist. So we've been giving it to you, but now we're going to give a full show of doing that.
Can I put in a request for an artist spotlight? Not today, but just go in the future. Can we do a spotlight on Keith Sweat? I'm not sure if you've done one already.
I haven't done one on Keith Sweat.
You have not done Keith Sweat?
Not done one on Keith Sweat.
Whoa.
Can we talk about Keith Sweat?
It is Keith Sweat.
People will remember that.
Dinosaur neck. I'm
That's
y'all seen it. When I said it, y'all visualized it.
It came right in my head. I was there with you. I was there with you. I was like, oh shit.
He do got a dinosaur neck.
The babies such as LJ, who was born in 89, 90, chances are y'all are Keith Sweat babies. Chances are. I'm just saying. Because make it last forever.
I was thinking that.
Wait a minute. Keith Sweat did something to get canceled?
What? Did he?
I don't know.
Who said
Where
that?
has he even been?
Somebody said that.
Where has he even been to get canceled?
Maybe on the block. He might be back on the block getting canceled. I don't know.
He down there singing with 50 Cent in Shreveport right now at this concert. We got Dave Chappelle, a bunch of different people down
What?
there.
Chappelle, 50 Cent, and Keith Sweat? What a lineup.
What? Bunch of other people too.
The eclectic.
Yeah.
Indeed. But Keith Sweat, shout out to all the NYC crooners. If people don't think of New York as a R&B home, which is odd. Maybe that's me. It doesn't think that, but long history of crooners coming out of New York. You know what I'm saying? Starting with Sam and Dave, going up to Keith Sweat, Maxwell. You know what I'm saying?
Luther?
So who?
Luther?
Oh, that's right. God damn, how did you forget Luther's from New York?
Yeah.
Beck, have you done the Luther thing? You done the Luther, right?
I did Luther.
You need to do more Luthers.
Because I was questioning, have you ever met another Vandross? And
right.
Co-op City.
What happened?
In Co-op City, you'll run into the uncle or the cousin.
Oh, Co-op City. Where's that?
In New York, son. Jesus Christ.
I'll be in New York like that.
I have a question for you. Have you been pushing? Talk to us about where has the revolutionary ride been this summer?
Can I just say, so I had to go to the embassy this week. And when I typed in the directions, the GPS said 1 hour and 16 minutes. And I said, why is DC that far from me? When has DC been 1 hour? So have I just been in the backseat of people's cars riding for 1 hour? Because
on your phone.
DC being that far.
Welcome.
I just need to just be there.
You got to pay for that added gas. You're like, what?
No, that was a lot. Like, and then the traffic getting into DC. That's another thing that needs to be studied. Why is there traffic getting into DC? Where are people coming from?
Everywhere.
Where are they coming from? Because leaving DC, it's fine. It's it's traffic, but it's steady movement. It's like stop and go traffic going into DC at 3 o'clock.
That is correct.
Oh my God! Where I'm at in DC. I'm close to the White House. I took a walk with Jarrod and Kalia Kuno. All three of us took a walk down.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I won't say what we were thinking, but we took a walk to. Yeah, I was like, oh shit! I didn't know it was this close.
3 Bays elders walking to a bar.
Oh,
Let me tell you the story.
First of all, 2 of us are not beige. 2 of us are not beige.
Who's okay. Kamal, lucky you. You are enjoying some spectacular weather right now in DC. Like I'm biased. I'm very biased towards this region. The Mid-Atlantic is when it's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. It is so nice right now. So enjoy.
I will. This is my last day at my conference. I also want to say, I know we're switching around a little bit.
Go ahead.
Yesterday we had over $500 in donations. So one day, so proud of everybody who gave money, who delivered. We got one-time donations of over $100. We got other donations that were like monthly donations. So people came out, looked out, you know what I'm saying? First day up. So I really want to thank everybody for doing that, but it shouldn't stop there.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just be clear. Y'all got more to give. I feel like y'all have a lot more to give.
We have more to give. It's true. Yeah.
They have a lot more to give.
Yeah. Oh, they got a lot more.
They got a lot more in their pockets.
Okay. All right.
I just feel like y'all got a lot more in your pockets. You have over 2,000 listeners or views at the minimum of over 2,000. I personally expected like to be reaping in like 15, 20, 30,000 or something like that. So y'all got to get y'all game up. But in all seriousness, I appreciate everything that y'all gave.
Yeah. Nick Bag gets so in the part we want in. Go ahead, Kim.
I'm giving. Liberation Through Reading is still collecting books. So you can go to bit.ly/LTR Curvefest. We have books by Sada Shakur and Jalil Alamin and Jalil Mutakeen and George Jackson, books that we're looking to gift to community members as they attend Curvefest on the 31st in Baltimore. So please, please, please buy a book. It's really important that we reach goal. Up to date, Liberation Through Reading will be 7 years old this year on the 27th. We started at a community at a back to school. We started with 150 books. Thus far, close to 4,000 have been gifted in multiple cities across the U.S. and in Cuba, Nicaragua, and Burkina Faso. So please continue to support Liberation Through Reading as we try to gift out more books for Curvefest and get community more acclimated to the struggle of political prisoners and why it's very important that we fight to get them free.
Nice. All right. That is what we're talking about. This is what we do right here on Black Liberation Media. We give y'all that news, we give you that politics, and we talk about culture right here. All that right here on Remix Morning Show. So let's go ahead and take a quick break and come back and bang you on the head with some news and some other things right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Right. Welcome out, y'all. Welcome out. Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com. Become a member over there and get footage that is rare. And yes, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, go to our website and donate if you can. Tell somebody else. Listen, you want to be a part of a revolution? You can't get outside and do nothing? You can get outside and do nothing, but you got money to help the revolution right here at the bottom of the screen. Go to the website and donate. blkliberationmedia.org. All right, boom. So as you hear in the background, you know I like to do an artist spotlight sometimes. Who am I going to talk about today? Let's talk about Karen White. Yes. Beautiful self. All right. Karen White, also known as Karen Levon White. Yes. She came out in the 80s, 90s. She had some big hits, one including Superwoman that came out in I'm Not Your Superwoman. Yeah, that came out in 1988. Secret Rendezvous. That came out in 1989. And The Way You Love Me, which you hear right now, came out in 88. And she had another one called Romantic in 1991. But she was born in L.A. She was came up in the choir, you know, and wound up doing some backup singing for Jeff Lorbs, whoever that is, and wound up getting her own deal and her first self-titled album, Karen White, in 1988. And this was produced by L.A. Reid and Babyface, and she got platinum status with this one right here, straight off the rip. Then she came out in 1991 with another album called Ritual of Love, where she worked with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis again, and came out with the song Romantic. After that, she did another album, 94, Make Him Do Right. This ain't do much, but you know, yeah, she did what she did. And she got to appear with Mary J. Blige, Monica, and others for the single Freedom. This was off the theme, the soundtrack, Panther, with Mario Van Peebles. And then after that, she tried to drop another album. So she kept dropping albums. There wasn't nobody really hearing it like that, but she kept doing it anyway. Anyway, let me get to who she got married to. She got married to Terry Lewis, and they had a daughter. Yes, Terry Lewis, from Terry and Jimmy. They wound up divorcing, and then she got married to a producer named Bobby G. Then she started a relationship with who? I'll Be Sure in 2012. Right now, she's living in California doing interior design and real estate business. She got 4 albums, so go check her out. Karen White, y'all. All right, with that said, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
The way you love me.
I feel like that was one of your weirdest, kind of all over the place. You're like, and she dropped an album, ain't nobody bought that. And you came back to it, you're like, and then she dropped another album, ain't nobody buy that one either.
Well, it got shelved, so it's true.
Karen White was when I first kind of became aware of wigs, right? Because like I'm like, I remember, I mean, this came out when? You said 90s, 89. When was that? So I was a middle schooler, you know, a child pining for long wavy hair. And I'm like, how'd she get her hair so long? Being in deep confusion that there's no, I just knew it was coming out of her scalp, but it wasn't. And I was not aware. My mother was like, that's not her hair. I'm like, what you mean?
Like that, Kim. When I was in elementary school, that's when like everybody had box braids with the burnt tips. And I had long hair. And I never knew that it was like extensions because I never knew anybody would weave. So I attempted to burn. My mother caught me just in time. So it's like, oh.
I can't burn these ends.
Oh, yeah.
Well, your whole whoosh.
Right.
Yo, she got
little styles. They had the bobs and all that.
Your girl Karen got around the music industry for a bit, huh?
Simmer down. Whoa.
I mean, 3 musicians. I mean, I guess you got to be a musician to mess with Karen White.
Something young woman. Goddamn. She had a couple of relationships.
I mean, it's like when you work, you mess with people you work with. You mess with producers.
But that doesn't equal, quote, getting around the industry.
You called Karen White a hoe.
I never did say that.
What was the implication?
That she got around with a couple producers and musicians.
People in the span of what you named like 15 years.
Just because you know their names. Right. Oh, damn.
Listen, big up to Karen White, though. Thanks for your contribution in the culture of music and stuff like that.
Shout out to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Babyface.
And
my whole
no, we don't shout out L.A. Reid. We know Drew Dixon told us the story about L.A. Reid. We do not shout out L.A. Reid.
I gotta hear that story.
But L.A. Reid is Babyface too. I mean, in spite of everything, the soundtrack to much of my youth. So much of R&B that I know of the 90s that I still listen to is a product of L.A. Reid and Babyface exploitation, but their work nonetheless.
All right.
That was so great because I'm so sorry. No, I was just going to say because Babyface has got hit after hit, but his voice is.
See, now you calm down, okay?
You think Babyface has a great voice?
Think that I'm not about to challenge Whip Appeal because I will sing the shit out of Whip Appeal.
Oh, wow. A remix.
So, now he can sing. I'm singing it. So we just gonna relax on Babyface.
That man said he'll give you the sun, the rain, the
he gave it all up.
All up. He fucked it up for all of us. He was like, damn, I could get you some popcorn at the movies. But
no, you're talking about the song that pissed off all the brothers. Soon as I get home, he's gonna run your bath and cook you dinner. The men was, I remember being a child, and grown-ass adult men were tight-faced over this record. Tight-faced.
Like what I expect when I come home is a beer. I got to do work.
Soon as I get home.
You know what I'm saying? God, well, Babyface did this. Go fuck with Babyface. Anyway, I'll catch y'all on the next break.
Leading by example.
You still got that bad black hair too. That bad dye job.
Anyway, gang. It's Women's Wednesdays plus Kamal. So let's go ahead and get into some news. Bye, y'all. Okay, yes, that's always a nice little ditty.
It's grown on me.
It's growing on you.
Mm-hmm. It has grown on me a little bit. So yeah. So let's get into this bop, everybody. It's the Remix Morning Show, Black Liberation Media. Today is Wednesday, August the 14th. Leo season still very much in effect. Happy birthday to all the Leos out there, by the way. Happy belated birthday to Afra Singh, celebrating her birthday on the 13th. Big up to the Leos present. Myself, Rakita Ryan, also celebrating big Leo birthday. Shout out to Infinite Content. All the Leos represent in the chat comments. In the chat, we'd like to see y'all out here.
My son Khalib.
No is he really?
I think the 12th is his birthday. It makes him a Leo. Right?
That does make him a Leo. And that makes him, you're going to have your hands full, sir. Hands full. I already bet Khalib is a little boss around the crib, right?
What's your daughter's sign, Kamal? What's your daughter's sign?
I don't know. Oh, her birthday is July 10th.
Oh, she's a Cancer. Look at you. You lucked out. You got some summer babies, a pair. Beautiful.
Yes. Beautiful. I don't know what the signs mean, though.
That's okay. You don't have to. We know. Anyway, guys, it's Women's Wednesdays. We've got Kamal Franklin leading us off for Women's Wednesdays. He is the rooster in the hen house. We allow him, and the ear doctor, of course. Ricky Ryan, aka Erica Keynes, LJ in the house, Kim Brown. Coming up at 9:00, everybody, we have a guest joining us all the way from the UK. Dr. Kehinde Andrews will be joining us. He is an author, lecturer, organizer, and he's going to come on and talk to us about the UKKK riots, the whites, tearing shit up. But the black folks, our black Brits, is standing 10 toes down. They said, "Oh, you think you're coming to Croydon? Oh, okay. You coming to Peckham, Brixton? Oh, we don't think so. So I want to get the scoop from Dr. Andrews. He's going to come in and bring us all up to speed. I said, look at the whites enjoying their ancestral rite of passage to tear shit up in black and brown people's neighborhoods. And this is an unbroken circle. They never get tired of this shit. So they tearing shit up in the UK. So we're going to take a listen and get in with Dr. Andrews coming up at 9:00. But in terms of news, guys, I mean, we don't have any shortage of news around these parts. Any particular place anybody wants to get started? And shout out to the remixers, by the way. You guys, please engage with the content. We want to see the thumbs up. We want to see the subscriptions. Please go over and subscribe to the Remix Morning Show YouTube channel, because you know YouTube permanently demonetized us like some suckers. So we had to go start another joint for the Remix Morning Show. Shout out to everyone that is watching us live. We are already streaming on the Remix Morning Show YouTube channel, so please go subscribe over there. Let's get some news cracking, y'all. What the news?
Yeah, that sound like Jared. Erica laced us. I finally got a hand on the run sheet. It exists, y'all. It's real. I've seen it for myself. But there is an article on the 20 million that was sent to Israel that I would like to start
20
with.
million? That's it?
Or 20 billion, I believe.
Oh, I was about to say 20 million.
That's like that's just a few bullets for them and shit.
Right, right.
Did you pull it up or you need help?
I need help.
Oh, you gotta say that.
Yeah.
So I gotta open up the run sheet. I didn't have the run sheet open, so.
See what I got to deal with? Come on.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't know.
send you links.
Get out of here with that.
Right.
You
please.
Won't you start talking at either the ear doctor or
there we go.
The story. There you go.
So yeah, I was just about to. So Kamala's running. Kamala is in the lead. It is a big spectacle. Oh, one thing I do want to say about Kamala Harris in this run, because MSNBC is background music in my home, so I do get to hear a lot of what's being said, the narrative, and there's a thing that they are doing with the word joy. That is.
I played that commercial last night, and I said, "We are cooked. We are fucking."
I saw Nicole Wallace 2 days ago. It was a whole segment on this is the campaign of joy. Harris is restoring joy. People are look at the crowds; they're joyous crowds, and I've heard that word repeatedly since. And I think this is a play off of Black joy. But that is something that they're running with. So I want people, because every time they do it, I tell my mom, see, you heard it, right? You heard that word? That's the new word. That's the new shit.
Whether or not they do it well or not all the time, but there are little consultants running around.
Oh, yes.
Who are like, oh, we use this, so let's do this. So let's take this from this culture or this from this place and throw it in a commercial, get some pop music sensation. And it's like nothing about policy. It's like we need some good pictures, some screaming crowds, and then we're good.
I found some policy. I ran a Kamala ad, an official campaign ad that she's running in border states. And one of her policies, she plans to add 1,000 new border patrol agents. I said, there goes some policy. There you go. She wants more cops on the street. I've never heard that policy before from Democrats. That must be something new that they've been working on.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to get to the article, but you can go ahead.
Okay. No, I was really quickly, I think the one commercial I did saw that had quote unquote substance and or policy was her border patrol. That was her first commercial she put out, was just to make sure everybody knew that she was going to be tough on immigration or whatever like that. So
that's when she wore the jacket and had the badge and proudly announced she was a top cop. So she's running, and it's a joyous campaign. And the more interesting thing about this that's happening congruently online and to the point of the word joy, I think we have to be mindful that the 88 million that was raised in a day, this is where we're seeing it go to these narratives, to these PR firms, and to these TikTok influencers who are now positioning Africans against Palestinians in the context of this election, right? So there's a whole conversation happening, a disingenuous conversation happening about anti-Blackness in terms of Kamala's election and campaign, and what's best interest and words like single issue voting. So when you see particular words get used over and over again, you have to realize that that's where the 88 million is going towards, crafting these narratives and fleshing it out to a wider audience. Because what happened with the I'm speaking, a lot of it is this sort of diminishing of what's happening in Gaza still, for the sake of people's self-interest and special interest in what's best for the Black voters in this nation. And that's the narrative. So as they're saying, well, okay, but she's still calling for a ceasefire, so I don't understand why everybody's upset. As she's saying that she wants a ceasefire, she's also saying that Israel has its right to defend itself. And then the U.S. clears $20 billion in arms sales for Israel as atrocities continue in Gaza. So what Al Jazeera is noting here is that the money is still going to Israel. So none of this really matters rhetorically, what's being said by Kamala Harris and things that she intends to do if she wins, because she is still a part of the Democratic Party, which is a Zionist party, which has a strong allegiance to Israel, that is continuing to fund these weapons, because it's very disingenuous to call for a ceasefire and you are still arming them. But then furthermore, aside from that, the next day, I believe, is when they killed 100 Palestinians, including multiple children that were praying at that time. So they received 20 billion in arms, and then the next day they kill multiple people, including multiple children who no one could be identified except for the weight of the remaining of their flesh. And this is the issue that is being deemed as single issue, as we are seeing the money that is being raised for Kamala Harris' campaign, void of any policy, continue to petition this sort of disingenuous Palestinian movement as anti-Black, because they do not consider domestically the needs of Black people.
Mm-hmm. They haven't gotten in tune with Black girl joy, and so therefore, they're being anti-Black or whatever. I think the other interesting thing in this article clearly shows where some of the money goes in weapon sales. So $18 billion of that money is going to additional aircraft. Again, Gaza, the Palestinians have no air force, no air defense missiles. There's no way to stop any incoming bombs from being dropped or missiles from being dropped. And so they're getting fresh new F-15-1A and F-15 151 plus aircraft. They're getting tactical vehicles, 102 million in advanced medium range air-to-air missiles, tank cartridges, and 120 millimeter high explosive mortar cartridges. So, and the other interesting thing about this money, so a lot of this is an economic shell game where this money comes from the United States. It goes to Israel, and Israel buys from U.S. arms manufacturers. So the money basically gets pumped back from the government. It's a transfer of funds from the government back to U.S. arms suppliers. And that's in addition to the free military hardware that they get directly from the U.S. military. So Israel is supplied not, like one time, but two times, right? So, and this is how they pump money into these arm manufacturers, which gives them more power to lobby, which gives them more power to dictate how the economy runs, how to set foreign policy in some ways also. So this whole litany of stuff is completely connected in terms of how these resources are given to Israel. This goes back to the arms industry.
Are there any indications of aid earmarked for Palestinians within that 20 billion, or even a separate aid package? I don't expect it, because, this whole pretense of the United States, that floating pier that they had constructed that was supposed to be there to receive the tons of aid that is stuck at the borders, not able to get directly to Palestinians, is not that I expect it, but did they say anything about aid to Palestine, aid to Gaza?
Yeah.
Showpieces. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that pier is floating in the ocean. It is in the sea, that pier. Yeah. So that was, and then we know right before that it was dismantled completely. That they were using that to U.S. Marines were coming in through that pier. So it was never ever about aid, and the aid that they did drop from the sky was either already expired food or literally killed Palestinians who were crushed from the weight of the things just dropping from the sky. So I even the concept of aid, what is aid to a people that is continuing to fund and send weapons to this destruction? And I also want to say it's this constant thing that's being done. If we are in the context of this conversation that we're having right now, is about what the Biden-Harris administration is doing. It's absolutely disingenuous to talk about what Trump could do. No one is under the guise that Trump would not continue this. The issue right now is the idea that we are supposed to ignore what Biden-Harris is doing for the sake of preventing something that Trump would do. So I think that that's very important, that we actually hold the context of the conversation and what we're talking about, because no one is confused here about the Republican Party. Where the confusion lies is what the Democratic Party actually is. It is a Zionist party.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means to us domestically is the continuation of the IOF working with the police that the Biden-Harris administration has funded year after year after year in the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars. Cop Cities has erupted under this administration, and there's going to be a continuation of this intertwining. The NYPD has a station in Tel Aviv. We cannot act like these things are not important. So the fact that people are lobbying this a single issue and just running with that narrative is very, very dangerous, especially in terms of like, how do we strategize? What is the alternative? How do we protect ourselves from this? Because the Democratic Party is not going to.
Go ahead.
I was going to say quickly, and part of the history, but particularly with the Palestinian Authority, is that the United States, they do give money to the Palestinian Authority. And the reason they do is to keep it in check or to keep it in line, right? Because the Palestinian Authority on the ground basically became the cops for Palestinian society, particularly in the West Bank. So the purpose of it, and they exchange intelligence, at least they did at one point, intelligence with the Israeli forces. They subdued militant action in the West Bank, arrested Palestinians. So they became the on-the-ground police forces, the sort of Bantu police forces for the Palestinian society. Now, they got some aid for uniforms, for salaries, for light weapons, like that Israel okayed them getting, but those stuff are not used to fight back against oppression. Those things are used to keep oppression going. And so there is, and again, it's nothing even close to what Israel gets, and it's not meant to do anything except to subdue Palestinians in terms of the oppression that they face, not only from those that claim to be governing them, but of course the larger oppressors of Israel and the United States and all of Western Europe. So
I was just going to add that now we have, millions of citizens in the region potentially bracing for a wider war because Israel continues to try and expand both through Lebanon. And remember, Lebanon has been bombed before. They have bombed Beirut repeatedly. And southern Lebanon / occupied Palestine is heating up also with what you won't hear is that there's over 200,000 people that have left the occupied territories in the north, and saying also that to Netanyahu, to their government, that they aren't coming back after this war ends. And, what's good is that the deterrent, that ability of Israel to sell to its citizens that it's able to protect them is shattered, especially because of the ongoing operations with Hezbollah in the north. And so what we don't have, though, is international leaders actually saying, oh, wait a minute, isn't it horrible that the Zionist entity actually assassinated the lead negotiator for the Palestinian side? This is horrible. What are we doing here? What's internet? I mean, you don't have this conversation. And instead, you have Israel is bracing for a wider war. They are arming their citizens, not just with actual arms, but also with supplies. I was watching an interview on CBN, the Christian News Network, and they interviewed the head of the emergency services, and they're saying, yes, we're sending out care packages to our citizens. We are having them do drills. I mean, can you imagine from an American perspective, the 911 sending out care packages for us in case our enemy but we would not be so equipped. Our citizens would absolutely be left high and dry. So this idea that Israel is able to exist as a legitimate state is definitely there. It's good that image is being shattered.
Mm-hmm. And we all understand, Israel would fall tomorrow if the United States did not supply it with aid. It is not a real country. It doesn't have a real economy. All of its military is based on what it gets from the United States. Healthcare, the operations of the economy, all of that is determined by the support it gets from the United States. Without the United States keeping Israel up as a puppet government, basically as a colonizer government in the region to do the West's bidding, Israel would fall, not only because the access of resistance would make sure that it did not, But on its own face, in terms of an economic entity, it could not survive. It would not have the trading partners. It would not have the interior ability to keep an economy going. There's nothing about Israel that is sort of legitimate in the sense of it being an actual nation state that has resources for its own people. This is all about a colonial project that survives because the United States and Western allies keeps it going.
Mm-hmm. Also, to your point about how they are discussing what's going to happen, I think it's very interesting that they are at the same time saying, oh, Iran's not about to do anything. They have been exposed. Their defenses have been exposed since that man was assassinated on their soil. And also, Iran, please do not do anything. Like, please relax. Like, like chill. It wasn't even that deep. So they're doing that at the same time. Like they're egging it because Iran, like to your point, they're not saying this is a shame that this happened on Iran's soil. This is a violation of international law. What the international leaders are saying, Iran, please do not make a move. Do not, they're condemning something that hasn't even happened. So now Iran is like, objecting that. Like, we absolutely are going to strike back. When, where, how, one will never know. But they do plan to do something. So that's why you're seeing a lot of this bracing for wider war, because they've already sent army and the military over in preparation for this wider war. So more troops have been sent to the Middle East in this last week in preparation for what could happen. Also, in terms of policy, there is going to be, Kamala Harris does plan, I think this week, I believe I read, to unveil some policy. And Rahm Emanuel is one of the people who will be working on the policy. Right, so we are all in good hands. There is nothing to worry about. If anyone is familiar with Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, and then in Obama's administration, you know that we are in good hands with working on this policy alongside Kamala Harris.
He definitely was the left flank of the Obama administration. Yes.
The left flank?
Yeah. I was being sarcastic.
I was about to say, I was like, whoa, were they left? Like, where was Obama and them left? Rahm Emanuel, it's interesting. I mean, another of these played out characters that still managed to reappear like a corpse. You know what I'm saying? Like Night of the Living Dead. Here come Rahm Emanuel again to have his fingerprints all over yet another administration and its policies.
You could say that both about also the Pritzker family in Chicago as well. There's always a Pritzker that comes from the rafters.
What else we got? Anybody else want to do another story?
I do have a story. It's a domestic story about the Air Force polluting people and their water supply.
Oh, the Air Force this time. This is different. This is different than the Marine base at Camp Lejeune, where they poison people for decades.
Mm-hmm. I think I need someone to share.
Which one is this? Is this out of Colorado? Let me guess. Which Air Force?
No, we're in Arizona today.
Woo!
Yeah. So the Air Force dodges a PFAS water cleanup in Arizona, citing Supreme Court Chevron ruling.
Wow.
That has worked out fantastic. Wow.
Like, this is going to work great for us. So the Air Force has refused to comply with the EPA order to develop a cleanup plan for drinking water in Tucson, Arizona, citing the Chevron ruling, the overturning of the Chevron doctrine. Air Force bases contributed to the contamination of the drinking water with toxic PFAS chemicals known as forever chemicals because they accumulate in the body, breaking down very slowly. These compounds were introduced in the mid 20th century and were associated with a wide range of serious health conditions, including cancer. In late May, the EPA ordered the Air Force and the Arizona National Guard to clean up the PFAS contamination of groundwater at a 10 square mile site in Tucson, giving them 60 days to develop a plan. In late June, when the Supreme Court eliminated the Chevron doctrine, which gave federal agencies the latitude to interpret laws and establish regulations, the Air Force decided to use that as a way out. I want to go down to where it talks about how the site that they're speaking of was already designated a Superfund site previously, and the Air Force decided to, okay, I want to go down to the amount of concentration here.
LJ, just tell the people real quick what an EPA Superfund site is. That's where the EPA says this shit is contaminated beyond recognition. Nothing should be on here. Built, lived, nothing. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And that is when they designated as a place that absolutely needs a cleanup plan. And as you said, nothing should be built there. But of course, things are built on top of Superfund sites.
Lovely.
Yeah,
all
you know,
the time. All the time. All the time.
All the time. So this is actually a 10 square mile site beneath the Tucson International Airport. And the
it's not
no one goes there.
It's not funny.
I laugh at the absurdity, and I like, oh, look at these motherfuckers just blatantly poisoning everybody without any. So I'm sorry, my apologies. I laugh at inappropriate times. Continue, LJ.
No. I think the laughter is like cathartic at this point. It's been known to be extraordinarily polluted, this site, since the presence of PFAS were found in the 1980s due to the contaminants of solvents and degreasers. The site from samples in 2016 has shown to have, it's just a really high level, 53,000 parts per million, when the allowable limit, I can't believe there's an allowable limit, but the allowable limit is just 4 to 10 parts per million. So this site has 53,000 parts per trillion, excuse me.
Underneath the airport.
Yes.
Okay. That people pass through daily.
Yeah. However, local activists are saying this Chevron defense, this overturning of the Chevron defense is not a legitimate way out for the Air Force. This shouldn't affect their ability to create a cleanup plan, but that's so far what the Air Force is going with. So that's up there. Yeah.
So when it comes to climate catastrophe, pollution, etc., the U.S. military in particular is probably the biggest global offender anywhere, right? And it's not limited to whatever the fuck they do abroad. They are perfectly content to poison people that live here for decades, and they knowingly do it. In Hawaii right now, Native Hawaiians are trying. I did a story on this recently. The U.S. Army had leased huge swaths of the island for $1 for the past like 50 years, 70 years. And the U.S. Army is trying to renew this lease. Well, you guys can take a guess at what the fuck the U.S. Army was doing on this land for the past 50 years. They were doing active military training. They were exploding munitions, causing tremendous pollution to the water, air, and soil. And Native Hawaiians are like, fuck you, get the fuck out of here for $1. And can you imagine? You don't have to imagine, but to be able to knowingly, intentionally pollute and poison people for nothing or for free, and then shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, the law is protecting us here. We don't actually have to do anything about this. This is not a democracy. I'm here to protect everybody, because the freedom is one way. They have the freedom to poison us, to give us cancer. What do we get to do to them?
Die or join their military.
Yeah.
Join their military and get paid health care and everything else as we go fight their wars for colonial extension, empire building. That's the trade-off. Yeah. No clean water for you unless you join the military. Then maybe you'll get some clean water.
They're poisoning their own people now.
And not at Fort Meade.
Motherfucking Beau Biden died from cancer that he got because he was in Iraq. Where was he, y'all? Afghanistan, next to the burn pits. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't even be caring about their own. He was a whole senator's son. Look at what he got.
I want to know, Kim, that he mentioned, Biden mentioned Beau in one of his speeches, I think in his scary speech where he had the red background, the fascist one. And he's like, well, I gave up my son for this or something along those lines. And it's like, whoa, so we don't stand a chance if he's like, look, I sacrificed my son on the altar of empire. So, you deal.
So imagine your kid. Yeah.
Did anybody ask Beau Biden? Is that what he wanted to do?
Hello?
Certainly not the wife who went and hooked up with Hunter. But right, I don't even think Beau was cold. But The Times have reported that the U.S. spent more tax dollars on Israel in the past year, 17.8 billion, than it did to fund a critically important federal agency such as the Environmental Protection Agency, whose $9.2 billion budget for this fiscal year was cut by nearly $1 billion from the year before. So, yeah, we are, well, not we. They are taking your tax money to fund genocide in Gaza instead of protecting us from poison and contaminated waters. And this just seems to be the ongoing trend of military bases, not just people who are living surrounding the base, but people living on the base. Like I just mentioned Fort Meade. But one of the things we discovered when we talked about what was going on at Howard in the dorms, when they had all the mold, the housing contractors for Howard are the exact same ones for Fort Meade.
Is it Corvius?
Yeah. And the exact same issues of mold and bugs and infestation and the living conditions on that base. Because my best friend, my son's godmother, was in the Coast Guard. So when she came back, that's where she lived. And the living conditions, it's so surprising. It's like the projects, like, and this is like for the military. So I'm not surprised. And then also military contract agencies like Lockheed Martin in Florida has a history of contaminating Black communities just by way of where they are and the testing that goes on. So this is just par for the course, primarily in the South. So there's an argument to be made that Maryland is the South with the amount of bases that are on and that exist in this state. But you see that continuously, and it's just overlooked, and it's not a real issue. Like there's constant spills and contaminations, and like I think cancer lanes, a lot of communities have been dubbed, and it's just no consideration for it because it's like sacrificial.
Vote Kamala. But she picked Tim Walz, y'all. Tim balls to the walls. She got a good to Kamala.
He's everybody high school teacher. He's gonna fix it, right?
Right. He's gonna coach us to get rid of the PFAS. Again, what? Go vote for who? For why? To do what? Exactly. More of this shit? Miss me.
Let's get an analysis. Speak from PFAS to P-Funk. Let's bring on the ear doctor.
Wow.
That was good. Come out.
That was good. That was a good one. Hey, I was just thinking about, I know we got a guest coming at 9, but I was thinking about what Ricky was saying earlier about, that long drive and how this generation now is used to being chauffeured. Really? I mean, with Uber and Lyft, yeah, y'all used to being chauffeured around. Y'all not used to driving. I was thinking my son is like, I don't really care about driving.
Also,
when I was young, I couldn't wait to get my license and get out
there. Could not wait, chomping at the bit to get a car and to get out on the road. And as a teenager,
now they like.
Yeah, I was like that.
I mean, I had my license for quite some time. I just was poor, ear doctor. So I didn't have a choice but to be chauffeur. There was no other option.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we learn something new every day. Ricky was poor. All right.
Gas is expensive.
Everything is expensive. Everything. Go get your car fixed.
Walking out the house is expensive. Shit.
That is correct also.
So
staying in your house is expensive.
Do you have aircon? A lot of people don't because it's expensive. Yeah.
All the goddamn utilities with the you can keep your lights dark for the whole month and you still got to pay them $40. A minimum.
Yeah.
Just first, you don't have to turn on a goddamn light, a goddamn gas bill, and you still got bills coming to your house of like well over $100 each month. Because they like it's yeah. All
right. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We got a guest coming back right after this, so make sure y'all tell a friend to tell a friend. It's on again right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
Let's go. Remix.
Time for a remix on the remix. We're going to do a little something like this. I like to do.
I've been eating
right, let me take you to a place in time. Let me take you back to 1998. We're talking about Sizzla Kalonji on the back of the beats off the album Reggae Max Sizzla. Yes, the name of the song is Be Strong. Let me give you a little.
Yes, you got to be strong.
That's right, mixed with a little bit of 2019. We talk about Ari Lennox off her album Shea Butter Baby. Name of this song is Whipped Cream. So yes, a remix on a remix right here on the Remix Morning Show. With that said, let's get back to our host with the most. Let's go. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom.
That
boom,
Sizzla
boom.
just settled me right on down. Like,
Ain't nothing like Sizzla, boy. And
was good.
Ari Lennox, man, she makes some great music.
She does. She's very talented. I'm kind of late on her, but I play a lot of her music. She's very talented.
Where's she from? Anybody know?
Carolina.
Oh, Carolina.
She's a Southern girl. Okay.
Yeah, she down with the whole J. Cole clique and all that. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up.
All right. Well, we got our guests coming through, so let me get off the screen and let y'all represent.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Ricky, you gonna rock with me real quick?
Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, y'all. We're coming right back and we're going to introduce our guests right here on the Remix Morning Show. On the Yes, y'all. Welcome to Black Liberation Media. It's the Remix Morning Show. My name is Kim Brown. We've got Erica Keynes, Ricky Ryan on screen with us. And I'm so excited to introduce our guest this morning. Dr. Kehinde Andrews is the author of several books, including Back to Black, The New Age of Empire, in his latest, The Psychosis of Whiteness. He is also the co-chair of the Harambe organization and the co-editor, or rather the editor-in-chief of Make It Plain, the website, and also the podcast of the same name. Please go subscribe to Make It Plain. Dr. Andrews, thank you so much for making some time to join us today.
No, happy to be here. Thank you. Been a big fan of the show.
Thank you. And also, I am a big fan of yours. You guys, in case you are not familiar with Dr. Andrews, you need to go check out his books. But he is, dare I say, best known for hurting the feelings of millions of white Britons live on television. And to Piers Morgan's face, Piers, you mean to tell me you think England is a racist country? And Dr. Andrews said, of course it is.
Yeah, what else could it be, right?
Huge smile. I said, the number of Britons that probably spit out their morning coffee. I said, look at the superpowers of this man. Hurting white Britons' feelings by the millions. I said, that is a gift from the Lord. So thank you so much, Dr. Andrews, for blessing us this morning.
Yeah.
No, it's good that because we have racial segregation in the UK, it means I can hurt white people's feelings and still be safe, thankfully. So.
And I also want to just say, pleasure meeting you. This is my first introduction to you and your work, so I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah, good to meet you as well.
Well, I really anticipate this being more of a report, Dr. Andrews, because let me assure you, U.S. mainstream media is not covering the race riots happening in the UK. It's like, oh, is there something happening in the UK? We don't even really know what's going on over there. So we're not going to say anything. We're not going to report upon it. To my awareness, there's been no comment from the State Department about the unrest going on in Britain. And from what I understand, it is maybe not as widespread as some would think. So could you just bring us up to speed on, I guess, the catalyst for this race riot explosion in the streets of the UK, but kind of the original reason, I suppose, is not why the whites are out there right now?
Well, the reason the excuse has been given is there was a really horrible stabbing at a kids' party, a Taylor Swift themed party, actually, and 3 young white children were stabbed to death by a teenage boy, right? And it was really sad, terrible violence. But when this happened, the rumor mill started spreading that he was a Muslim, he was an asylum seeker, just some kind of jihad. And that was the catalyst that for the next week or so, all around the country, white people went into the streets doing what white people do, got crazy, started burning things, trying to burn down mosques, burned down asylum seeker places where we house asylum seekers, and it was all not true, right? It was all a lie. Like this was somebody born in the UK, his parents are Rwandan immigrants. Seems like he's probably mentally ill, but that misinformation really was the spark. But it's actually much more long-standing than that. In the UK, just like in America, there's been this massive backlash against immigration. The country's full, keep Britain white. All the mainstream politicians have been pushing this kind of line. I mean, I don't know how much you know about the UK, but the last government wanted to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda. I mean, like just crazy policies, right? Like you're like, what are you talking about? And so the mainstream's become so right-wing and so racist and so far right that this was inevitable. Something was going to spark it. This really wasn't inevitable. White people go crazy every so often, and this was just what happened the last week.
So as it's been happening for the past several days, have non-white people actually been harmed, physically harmed?
Yeah, certainly there's been reports of people being beaten. I don't think there's been any killings or anything. I mean, this is the thing about the UK. Racial segregation is very clear in the UK too. So actually in the areas where this tension is, it tends to be the places where there's not that many of us. So I live in Birmingham, big city. It's very, very quiet, like normal. London, same way. And so there hasn't been the clashes that you might expect. Like there have been rumors they were going to come to Birmingham, and there was like, I don't know, 1,000 Asian youth went on the street and they never turned up. So the actual violence hasn't been as widespread. It hasn't really been in the big cities. It really has been a lot of venting kind of in the smaller areas around the country.
You know, I want to say I appreciate so I've been trying to follow as much of this on social media as possible. TikTok has been very helpful in that. And I keep seeing Black Brits come on and say, oh, y'all want to come to Croydon? Cool. We'll see you. We will meet in the streets of Peckham. And your most recent episode of Make It Plain, Dr. Andrews, you know, I know you're born and raised in Britain, but the Jamaican jumped out of my brother. He said, oh, you think you're coming to Birmingham? Oh, really? Oh, is that what you really think is going to happen? Has there been an expression of multiracial, multicultural solidarity in the wake of these attacks from the whites?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's been actually the anti-racist protests have been bigger than the actual protests themselves. And yeah, this is because the UK has a long history of this kind of violence. I mean, the big difference in the States is that we've only really been on the island for the last 50, 60 years in big numbers. And it's since we've been here. So even 1919, after the First World War, you had race riots where white people went crazy and started trying to lynch people. 58, you had big race riots in Notting Hill. In fact, the Notting Hill Carnival is a response to the race riots in 58 in Notting Hill. Throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, there was these big marches. So we learned to defend ourselves. This is what, like, when we all live, kind of, most of us live in the same parts of the town. And it really, I mean, when I was young, we had a KKK. Like I always say, KKK, in the UK context, a KKK is not a serious thing. But in one of our historically Black neighborhoods, they did try to come through when I was young, and it lasted 10 minutes, and they got kicked out, and we never seen them again. This is what I'm saying. You're not going to see this violence in Handsworth, where I live, Birmingham, London, because it just wouldn't end very well, because we've had to learn to protect ourselves, because this kind of violence is not new in the UK. It sparks up every so often. But yeah, we know how to protect ourselves. I say that much.
So I just wanted to get maybe a little more context about the political situation in Britain. I know you just spoke to the last government and their suggestion to send people to Rwanda, and that was a deal that was made with the Rwandan government as well that fell apart after all this money was exchanged. But as the first Indian prime minister, he is sort of the one that kind of pushed the relations between what they seen as refugees as others. Like he heightened that as part of that right wing. But then also the first Indian to serve in the UK's Home Security, which oversees, they're the one that pushed this particular policy, right? So when people, because it's not really on mainstream media, what's happening, when we're discussing a lot of how we understand the dynamics here with, you know, colonized people who live like us taking on these positions, we say, or we have terms like a misleadership class. And I'm wondering, to what sense does that dynamic play in the UK, especially in the kind of liberal notion of allowing for fascism to thrive?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we picked up the playbook from the States. I mean, really, in the States, it starts with, I guess, probably Clarence Thomas, right? The most racist Supreme Court justice is also the blackest, right? Not an accident. And in the last, I'd say, 10 years, the right here has picked up that same thing. So that last government that just got elected out was the most diverse government in British history. Indian Prime Minister, Indian Home Secretary, Black Foreign Secretary, like really, really, really diverse. But that diversity was a front so that they could do this racist policy. If you actually look at in the UK, as I said, most of us so slavery takes place in the Caribbean. Colonialism is far out. If they can keep us out, they can keep Britain white. So the UK racist policy really is immigration policy, and the policy for the last government has been the most racist policy in British history. Really, really, really just really trying to crack down on migration. But that was only really possible because you had brown people doing it. Like it's not a coincidence you have the last 3 home secretaries were Asian. I think it was two Asian women and then a black man. Not a coincidence, because you couldn't have a white home secretary say we're going to deport people to Rwanda. Everybody would say that's racist, right? When it's a brown person doing it, it's fine. So it actually works out that the more diversity you have, the more racism you can have from the government. And you're seeing that really clearly in the UK.
In this latest episode of Make It Plain, you also placed the blame for some of these riots, these white race riots, at the feet of the liberal government, at the Labor Party. You talked about, the rhetoric coming from Keir Starmer and others historically, like this, as you mentioned, this is not a new manifestation of white rage and resentment. In fact, all of this anti-immigration sentiments have been firmly stoked by political leaders of both parties, the Tories and the Labor. Can you expand upon that? Because it's the same thing here. You should see Kamala's border security ads, Dr. Andrews. It is a whole mess. So how have the liberals also contributed to what we're seeing today?
Oh, certainly. And again, this idea of keeping Britain white has not just been a right-wing thing. This has been a Labour. So we have Labour Party, theoretically left-wing. Well, when my family came here in the 60s, it was a Labour government. It was terrible. It was probably worse in many ways. So the idea of keeping Britain white has been one which left and right in the UK have been very clear about. And then what's happened, because the Tory party have gone so far to the right, I mean, really, the rhetoric they're talking about is like far-right racism in the 70s and has become the kind of the government policy. That's really pulled Labour really far to the right. So they don't feel they can say immigration is a good thing. So they'll say, no, we have to stop the boats. We have to make sure we reduce immigration. It's the same rhetoric. So it's exactly the same. So when it's easy to blame, we have like cartoonish figures. I don't know if you know Nigel Farage over there, big Trump supporter. Mm-hmm. He's become like this. I mean, the media just made him into a celebrity. And this is now the result. When you make fascist celebrities, guess what happens? People kick off on the streets, right? But so it's easy to blame people like him, but Labour's no better because there's no alternative. And even in the backlash, all this backlash we've seen the result of this on the streets. I haven't heard any Labour politicians say, "Oh, actually, we need to rethink. Actually, maybe we need to be pro-immigration. Maybe we need to change the rhetoric." It's all exactly the same. So it's all the political class is to blame.
To that point, we've seen that Labor has been the hardest on the pro-Palestinian protesters in the last 10 months. To what extent do you see a sort of crossover between what's been going on the last 10 months with the protests and what's happening with the anti-racist protesting against what's happening? Is there connections being made around the, not just so much racism, but the genocidal aspect of it, Britain's role in that per se, and how it connects to the dynamics here? Have people been discussing that in these multiracial coalitions?
I mean, I think one of the worrying things that we're seeing from the only really response we've had from the government so far has been police crackdown, additional powers to police. And that's always a bad thing for us because black and brown people, like just like in the US, these are going to come back and haunt us. And actually you can see the mechanisms for this did come from the anti-Palestinian, the pro-Palestinian protests and how they're trying to crack down. And so I think actually people have been a bit too pro-government crackdown to end this violence and not making that connection, because all these extra powers the police have, anti-protest laws that get passed, those are going to apply to pro-Palestinians. Those are going to apply to when we need to protest. And I don't think there's been enough discussion of that at all, because actually the end result of this will be terrible for us. And even if you look at the actual results, the actual crackdown. So they're saying it's a crackdown. But in 2011, we had rebellions, and I don't call them race riots. When black people go in the streets and are protesting against the police and it turns violent, that's a rebellion. That's not a race riot. We've seen those historically. Those are anti-racist acts. When we had those in 2011 because of the death of police killed Mark Duggan, people were getting 6-month prison sentences for walking into a shop that had been looted and taking out a bottle of water. You got a 6-month prison sentence. One of the rioters just now got actually violently attacked somebody and got 3 months in prison. So it's not even really a crackdown. It's like a watered down crackdown that's happening for these protesters. You still see that difference in how white people get treated in the criminal justice system. So I think there's actually I think the end of this could actually be worse for us, particularly with too much. Any more power to the police is just always a bad thing for black people.
You know, your latest book is called The Psychosis of Whiteness. I haven't checked it out yet because I don't think it's available on Audible. I'm looking forward to the audio version of Psychosis of Whiteness, but I know exactly what you're talking about when you say it, because I've lived it, seen it, and we're seeing it even there in Britain. So even though there's not that much of the percentage of the British population that is non-white, so to speak, the economy and even so much of the infrastructure is dependent upon migrant labor, in particular the healthcare system, right? The NHS, as much as I hear some Brits complain about the NHS, they don't want it to go away, and they damn sure don't want what we got over here, right? But Dr. Andrews, underscore the importance in the role that immigrant healthcare workers play in Britain's national healthcare system. And if you were to subtract those people, what would the healthcare system look like?
Well, that's the irony of that. National Health Service is like one of the most popular things in Britain. I think in the Olympic Games 2012, this big NHS thing. Going back to Nigel Farage once said that it's the National Health Service, not the International Health Service, to suggest that immigrants shouldn't be treated under health service. But 24% of the workers in NHS today are foreign born. That doesn't even include people like my family who are born here, but descended from immigrants. The NHS has always 100% relied on doctors and nurses from the empire. Couldn't exist historically, couldn't exist now. The idea that it's not international is honestly, this is part of the psychosis of whiteness. The bigger issue we have in Britain is Britain isn't these 4 countries, so England, Ireland, Scotland, with this little island. That has never been what Britain is. Britain was empire. That's what made Britain great. It was the largest empire that existed in human history. Slavery in the Caribbean, colonialism in Africa and Asia, etc. Everything. I always push back about people will say we have to prove we're British. There's been British people, black people on these islands for centuries. When my family was in Jamaica in the 50s, 60s, and 1800s as enslaved, they were in Britain. It was part of Britain. Everything that happened in the colonies was just as important to Britain as everything that happened here. And so even when we're talking about immigrants, most immigrants to this country aren't really immigrants. My family's not really immigrants. We were in Britain and then we came to Britain. It's 2 different parts of Britain. That's the same with anybody from Asia who came in. And that's the big psychosis that we have in this country, is we don't actually understand that none of this is possible without empire, without the colonies, without these so-called immigrants. And if we did, we'd have a very, very, very different conversation about the nation.
And just my final question, because I'm very much interested, because a lot of the conversation from people who have been keeping up or observing what has been happening is what's going to happen here, right? This sort of idea that it's not occurring here, even in small pockets, but just seeing that and trying to apply, well, are we prepared for something to happen here? And I know historically how fascism has been detailed or defined has been a reaction to sort of a chronic instability of geopolitical system that's structured around capitalist empires. So when we look at the last 2 years from the proxy war in Ukraine and how that sort of destabilized a lot of the economy across Europe, and we watch how it has also affected the immigration across Europe, what do you think about those parallels between what's happening in Eastern Europe and how that is directly affecting what's happening in the UK today?
Yeah, I mean, it's all there is no such thing as a national thing anymore, or even really since the West became the West, everything's all interconnected. And, what happens in Ukraine, you think about prices, right? I mean, oil prices skyrocket, the cost of living crisis. A lot of this is related to why there is unrest now, right? Particularly when white people feel they're losing things. They don't blame the people they should blame, they just blame us, right? This is what basically happens. So any decline in standard of living for white people is put onto us, and then that's when you get this reaction. I would think in America, I mean, America has a much longer history of these kind of racist violence, and it's much more violent. And I would be really, really worried, actually, if I think Trump being elected probably staved off a bit of that because you feel like you're winning, right? But if Trump don't win the election and you got all these angry white people and they're all been stoked up about immigrants and black people, it'll be the most American thing for this kind of violence to play out in America, and it'll be far worse than it is in the UK. Right? America's Europe on steroids. Everything's always way more extreme. So I do think there's really quite some worrying lessons to think about what's happening now, because this isn't just a British problem or an English problem. It actually is about what's happening around the world.
Let me ask you both an unrelated question. This is for you too, Erica. So, and Dr. Andrews as well. And it's unrelated what we're talking about, but I know we all both are active on social media, and every now and again we will see the so-called diaspora wars flare up. And I've been seeing too many videos between Black Americans and Black Brits barking at each other about, oh, the Black Brits is like, oh, y'all don't really know where y'all from, and Americans is like, we was captured. What do you mean? We don't know where we from. To me, this is a tool of the enemy. To me, this is to create disunity among the diaspora. So to the extent it's a real thing, I'm not exactly sure. But can I get? Are you both aware of what I'm speaking of, and what are your thoughts about it? Erica, let me start with you.
Yeah, I'm aware. I don't think I think we see that in different contexts. The U.S. versus the diaspora, or U.S. versus Africans, or the Caribbean versus the Caribbean. I think we see this in different contexts, and I do think it is a part of a colonial construct where we do not understand, particularly our struggles as being same or intertwined. But I also think that's part of the reason why there's such an affront to understanding the struggle of Palestine, because people are not really understanding that our struggles are intertwined, or really the primary contradiction being Western imperialism that is causing all of this. But the online mechanisms, for me, you know how I think about TikTok and Twitter being psyops anyway, right? Because I do think that a lot of these conversations are disingenuous from the start. And they're intended to be reactionary conversations. They're not intended to find any solvent. So even if it is the case that you personally feel like this is what Black Brits think about us, there is the conversation around it is not, well, how do we change that, right? It's just a continuation of more agitation to separate us from really understanding this is why we connect. So to Dr. Kahindi's point about how we can observe what's happening in the UK and seeing, okay, so we might be up next, or this is the context in which it's playing out. We can maybe call our UK brothers and sisters and say, what's going on over there? How are y'all strategizing? What's going on there? What are the resources that y'all are tapping into? How are y'all teaching people and talking to people about that? And the more that we have these sort of disingenuous conversations and arguments, the further we are from connecting and having those more strategic, broader analysis and strategies on defeating ultimately white supremacy and these reactionary whites.
Yeah, and I think that one of the biggest psychosis is the nation state, right? The idea that African Americans are different to Jamaicans, Black British. Those are all constructs which are the whole point is to divide us. And unfortunately we are buying into this in a much bigger way. Like, I never call myself Black British. I'm just Black in Britain. British is not something you ever hear me say I am. But there has been this really big embrace of it. But you think, what's the difference between the only reason I was in Britain is because I was taken to my ancestors were taken to Jamaica rather than taken to New Orleans, right? And the only reason that someone's in Africa is because they weren't captured and taken from Africa and taken to one of these places. So really, we have to understand that the diaspora and the continent, we're together. We're the same people. We're having traveled extensively and had these conversations in different places. Problems are the same. They're exactly the same. They just play out somewhat differently, but they're all the same problems that we're facing. And I'm actually writing a Malcolm X book. So for Malcolm's 100th birthday next year, nobody can give you freedom. So what would Malcolm X say if he was alive today? He'll be so angry about this foundational Black Americans, ADOS, Jamaican nationalism, Black British nationalism. It's all the same. You're not American. You're an African. Right. We have to understand that's the fundamental thing that we are. And so we're actually organizing a convention for African people in Gambia for May 17th to 19th for Malcolm's birthday. And the aim is to try and bring as many of us together as possible and work as Black people, not through these terrible, terrible nation states.
Give us some more information about that conference. I heard you talking about that on Make It Plain. It's scheduled for next year in Gambia. Where can people go to find out more information about it?
So if you go to Make It Plain website, which is make-it-plain.org, there's a video of me talking about it. It's all based on Malcolm's so the last year of Malcolm's life, he's traveling the continent and he's trying to link up Africa to the diaspora and saying this is the most important thing that we can do. And this is probably why he's killed. Malcolm actually thinks it's the CIA that killed him because of that international travel. And he also founded the Organization of Afro-American Unity, which we've based Harambee OBU, Harambee Organization of Black Unity, which is blackunity.org.uk. And so what we're saying is on his 100th anniversary, May 17th to 19th of Malcolm's 100th birthday, we're trying to essentially build the modern day OAAU by inviting as many people as possible to come to the continent. It's a first step. We'll see what we get out of that. And hopefully after that, we'll have a global organization that can really say, actually, can we represent Black people as a global collective, not through the various nation states.
Dr. Andrews, thank you so much for making the time to join us on Black Liberation Media. Remixers, please go check out Dr. Andrews' books. He is a fantastic author, lecturer, intellectual. I appreciate your perspectives, Dr. Andrews. In addition to some of the other Black thinkers in Britain, let me stop calling them Black Brits, the Black thinkers in Britain. Shout out to Dr. Shola, Sir Hillary, I know is doing incredible work. Kalechi Okafor, who I am a huge fan of, and yours as well. Please check out his books, y'all. Back to Black, The New Age of Empire, and The Psychosis of Whiteness, all available right now. Dr. Kehinde Andrews, thank you so much. Shout out to Erica Brown for hooking this up, by the way. So
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there it is. There it is. Dope. We give it to you right here on the Remix Morning Show. We're going to take a quick break right here and get back to it. Now, let me do a quick artist spotlight. Who am I talking about right here, right now? Since we're going over the pond, let's talk about Nina Cherry. Yes, you might know her from back in the day. Let me let you know about her. Her real name is Nina Marianne Carlson. Coming straight out of Sweden. She's a Swedish singer, songwriter, rapper, disc jockey, and broadcaster. She started off in London in 1980s. She did a little punk and post-punk rock with her bands. And she came out with her first album, Raw Like Sushi. Coming off of Big Daddy Kane's when he said he was raw like sushi. And was released in 1989. Off her UK album chart, and the song was Buffalo Stance. And then her second album was Homebrew. Then she had another album called Man and Blank Project in 2014. And the most recent album came out in 2022, so she is still dropping it like it's hot, y'all. So big up to this sister. She's also won 2 Brit Awards. MTV European Music Award with she's been nominated for a Grammy Award. So she's been doing it for quite a while. Like I said, only really know one song from her, which is Buffalo Stance. And they tried to pump it like it was a hip hop song because she rhymed a little bit. But she always says that she's like to be known more as a singer that raps a little bit, not as a MC like that. So big up to this sister, Nina Cherry. I would like to call her a one-hit wonder, but she has more than one hit. And she actually has 7 albums. Yes, so she's been doing it for a while. Big up to Nina Cherry. With that said, let's get back to the Remix Morning Crew. Now we do. All right.
I make a move, nothing left to chance, so don't you get fresh with me.
That I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Did the band, did the puppet do dance?
That's how we do it. We don't know the list.
Yo, shout out to Nina Cherry. Her style kind of, she was sort of like the the precursor to like a Khalees in her style, her presentation. That's kind of who she reminds me of.
Coming off that punk rock type vibe. Yeah, I feel that.
A little bit.
Khalees and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Big up another Leo queen. Shout out to Khalees.
All right. Okay.
Sorry. I know all the Leos. I know them all.
Oh, great interview, y'all. So
hey, shout out to Dr. Andrews again. Shout out to Sister Erica Brown. Shout out to Sister Ricky Ryan with great questions. And I'm a huge fan of Dr. Andrews. Again, I love anybody that hurts white people's feelings in mass. I said, get him in the Negro Hall of Fame. Put his picture on the wall. I'm telling you, guys got to go back and find them clips. It's amazing. It's amazing. You should have seen Pierce Morgan's face. You mean Britain is racist? If you couldn't see Pierce Morgan. I'm sorry.
Nah,
I don't too much to offend Pierce Morgan though.
I love, but it was the time. It was during Good Morning Britain, Ricky. I want you to picture all them old crones sitting drinking they Earl Grey
with a biscuit.
8 o'clock in the morning in the UK, and they getting told to their face that they racist. And I said, yes, look at this king.
Hey, while I'm here real quick, I want to just tell y'all, go to our website, blkliberationmedia.org, and donate if you could. Please, thank you, as we are demonetized permanently right here. So do that, and that'll help us out a bunch.
I mean, it's kind of a badge, right? Like it absolutely to me tells us that we're going in the right direction content wise. And even though we weren't demonetized for content, weren't we demonetized for content though? Because YouTube had options. There was a graduated, accelerated, punishment system that we did not meet any of those. We didn't do none of that, and yet here we are.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll catch you at the end of the show. Peace.
Yeah. Thanks, Ear Doctor. Okay, it's me and the ladies. We lost Kamal, but we find him again. It's the Remix Morning Show, everybody. Black Liberation Media Remixers. We appreciate y'all joining us. Please show your enthusiasm, even though you can't run us no money through this channel. What you can do is run us that free support, which we'll always take and be grateful for. So please give us some likes, some thumbs up on the video. If you're not already subscribed to Black Liberation Media, take a moment to do so, and then go over to the Remix Morning Show YouTube channel. I'm saying in Baltimore, YouTube, and put it over in the YouTube channel and subscribe to that joint also, so we can get some live support activated over there as well. We got LJ in the building, Ricky Ryan, Erica Keynes, Kim Brown. Shout out to Camus. We lost Camus, but that's okay. We'll find him again. Ear Doctor in the cut. Any place in particular you guys want to go news wise?
I do have a story. Do you want corporate greed, or do you want police brutality? Like, pick your poison. Which one do you want?
Well, I don't want either of those things. I want those things to go away. But since I'm guessing the police brutality story is one that we should be aware of. So let's go with that one.
All righty then. An Arkansas officer has been caught on video beating an inmate on the back of his patrol car. So yeah, there's a little picture there of a man being held down by his knees and arms in the back seat of the patrol car. An Arkansas police officer has been fired after he was caught on video beating a handcuffed inmate in the back of his car. This officer, Harris, was caught on video punching, elbowing, and slamming the car door after he was being transferred, or while an inmate was being transferred from the local hospital back to the county jail. The county sheriff was shocked and appalled by his actions and decided to terminate him immediately. So,
shocked and appalled that he got caught so quickly. What's the shock and appalled? Because surely this man is not shocked and appalled that he beat someone was beaten and terrorized in police custody. Surely he's not shocked about that. He's shocked that he was caught, right?
He seems to be shocked by that based on the conduct. I'm not going to have it, and I'm not going to put it. I have to read it like that because that's how I imagine he delivers that.
You got to put a little drawl on it. Put a little drawl on it. This is Arkansas. Give us a little drawl.
No, I can't.
I'm not going to have it. I got people in Arkansas. I'm not going to have it. I can't. This is unacceptable in this part. And in my police department, we won't tolerate such things.
That's just Summers in Arkansas coming out.
Yes, it is.
That's Little Rock.
Well, actually, but as you guys know, black accents and white accents, Southern, New York, Baltimore, otherwise, the whites and the blacks speak differently, even though they're from the same spot, right? So I'm trying to give y'all my white because black Arkansans do not sound like that. They sound a little different. But I'm sorry, LJ, I keep interrupting. Continue with your story, baby.
No, it's cute. I like it. So you can see the inmate. He's still wearing his gown, and he's also is wearing and like choking himself sort of by the seatbelt. This is a 12-minute video, and then he pulls over, and the video continues, and that's when you see him beating the inmate in the back of the car. So. Not sure if this will lead to an investigation of the department and other conduct, but if that's just what's on video, what is not on video is what my question is. So, and this was not a person of color to my knowledge. So, yeah.
Oh, something might actually be done.
Perhaps.
Yeah, the ankles look too pale. I didn't think it was a person of color. But also, I was wondering, like, when you said that they were choking themselves, like the positioning of that person, I was trying to figure out, are they hunched? Like, you can't really tell to what extent they were already in that situation, especially reading the details of them, like, you know, being in their hospital gown, and then with the seatbelt, or if that's how they got there because he pulled over and started punching him. Like, I'm not going to watch the video, but I do think like even the visual of that was just like, wow, that's a lot.
And that's just the transfer, you know? So what's going on in the jail itself, what's happening before that, you know, and especially it goes on to talk about how the inmate had ingested fentanyl. So I think when they put these details into the article, it is also a spin on, well, this person was in contact with drugs, so, you know, we don't really care about them anyway. And I think that does a lot to also shape public opinion on how people are being treated, because I think we have a lot of work to do, especially I think with our people, speaking to them and letting them know, like, you know, regardless of what happens, the police are not at all there to protect us, and having them also in situations where people are experiencing mental health crises or potentially an overdose, what help have they given?
And this story, even though the person survived, it sort of highlights again to me how many people in this country die while in police custody, either in the back of police cars, who die in county jails, who die in penitentiaries. It's the statistic that is not known because these entities are not required to provide this data. And even when they do provide the data, it's shaky. You can't believe it, right? Oh, this person died of natural causes, died of an overdose. Then why do they look like they were beaten to a pulp? Such a case is happening right now in the Alabama Department of Corrections. I've been seeing a number of stories of incarcerated folks ending up dead, their loved ones getting the notification. And when the loved ones show up to claim the body, it's all kinds of trauma, and it's not consistent with what the cause of death that was given by the prison officials. So, I mean, I wish I mean, when we talk about how many people are killed by police that we know of every year, it's, you know, 1,000 to 2,000 or whatever, but we have no idea the amount of people that actually die while in police custody. It's terrifying.
I think they said this is the highest year on record to date since 2019 of how many police killings have occurred per capita across the nation. So this is just an ongoing thing, and we're seeing the resolve of that is, okay, let's just solve bad policing with more policing. I don't think it's a coincidence that all 7 of the cities that's under the Operation Relentless Pursuit have a consent decree, and that's Baltimore, Detroit, Cincinnati, Albuquerque. They all have a consent decree that says these police officers have been violating all sorts of amendments and all sorts of rights, and they are not, they are not efficient. So then also in these cities or surrounding these cities have popped up cop cities as a result, right? Well, if these officers are not sufficient enough, then we need more training, because that's ultimately the problem. The problem is training. And when we look, like, what part of the training is to beat someone to, to a pulp, in transfer? That is not a training problem. That's the psychological, that's something that's embedded in the system of policing. The fact that they have, when they put on that uniform and that badge, is a sense of power over people. Even in the way that they engage people on an everyday. This demand, like, you have to tell me who you are, and you have to give me, like, you don't have to do none of that shit. You don't have to show no ID. And you know how many times I tell my nephews that, especially in New York, because they do approach you very intimidatingly, right? Who are you? Where's your information? Like, do not give him a damn thing. There's no warrant. He don't know who you are. Keep it moving. But even in that instance, and they become more aggressive, right? And now you become the victim of police assault or police interaction that they agitated, as part of their training. Because, like, when does the training end? When is there some sort of concession that, in the last 50 years of training, we have seen an influx of SWAT, an influx of 1033, an influx of the deadly exchange, and an influx of death by police. And there's been no real plateau of that. It's just continuing to say, this is the deadliest year. This is the deadliest year. This is the deadliest year every year, under either administration. So to see that, and especially to see it happen to a person who's not African, right, which is typically how it's always depicted, I think is important, because it also plays to a class dynamics. Like, why did the police exist? To what is the police's, what are they protecting? And we know they don't protect and serve us, least of all poor whites, right, who are either addicts or mentally unstable. But this is the same treatment, right? Because it's a class dynamic. You are of nothing, you come from nothing, you have nothing, so you get treated like nothing. So we can make an argument that, yes, overwhelmingly it is African people, but it's also poor and working class people.
And in this case, I'm sorry, go ahead, LJ.
No, please go ahead.
Oh no, I was just wondering, in this instance with this case in Arkansas, the cop was fired, but I didn't hear that he was charged with anything, right? And this two-tiered, right, this tiered system of what the police are allowed to get away with versus what citizens are allowed to get away with, right? If this person was not a cop, they would have been charged with some sort of manner of assault, likely by now. Like, the firing is sort of meant, I suppose, to placate the public. Like, see, look, this person is no longer in our ranks, but it's like, hello, now that this person is, a regular civilian, you need to treat them accordingly. Like, charge them like you would anybody else. And if there is a reluctance to charge, that should lead us to re-examine the prosecutors and the district attorneys again with this, fawning over Kamala as prosecutor. Look at her, y'all. She's keeping us safe. She put away the bad guys. And it's like, show me when the prosecutors actually do that, when the bad guys turn out to be the cops. I'm stuck with this case that happened here in Prince George's County. The gentleman, I can't remember his name, the victim, but he was handcuffed with his hands behind his back. He was in police custody in the police car, seat belted in the police car. And the cop shot this man 6 times and killed him. And the police was prosecuted by the Prince George's County State's Attorney's Office and found not guilty. Now, how in the hell does that happen? It happens because there was a deliberate incompetence and a deliberate unwillingness to really hold this cop accountable. And that's how we need to view prosecutors. They are not here to keep the public safe. They are here to protect the ruling class and to protect those that help enforce the rules of the elites, aka law enforcement.
That was under Angela, right?
Yep.
Well,
she wasn't the prosecutor.
Progressive.
She's the county. It happened under her tenure as county executive, but I think it was Aisha Braveboy. Aisha Braveboy's office fucked that up big time. Jesus.
Yeah, to your point, but I think Marilyn Mosby, to our beloved Marilyn Mosby.
Everybody loves Marilyn here, Erica.
I know. She wrote an op-ed in defense of Kamala Harris. I don't know. We have to pull that up. But there is an op-ed written by, where she understands the plight that Kamala Harris is going through, because she herself is a victim. So it's really outrageous, the lengths, because I'm prepared for this Kamala Harris thing because I dealt with 6 years of combating directly Marilyn Mosby in a city that holds her to such an esteem. Not like the record doesn't account for that. I mean, there has been prosecutors in and out of that office who have been caught DUIs, who have been disbarred under her reign. Even the Keith case is just one case of so many unfair injustices. The Baltimore cops, the court watch started under Marilyn Mosby because of things that were happening in that courtroom under Marilyn Mosby. But what she championed for is the charging of police officers that she never actually prosecuted. She only prosecuted one. She dropped every other charge. But we have to understand the reasons why, right? We could argue that she was bullied into doing that, sure. But the mechanism of prosecutors, one, the job of a prosecutor is to win. So they do not care about necessarily the details of the case or what's happening or who's even on the case. They care about the wins, because when you pad your folder, you move up, right? And if you are a prosecutor who has bigger sights than being a state prosecutor, like eventually running for Senate, then you need to pad your numbers. You need to have wins. But also, in order to have those wins, you have to have a particular relationship with cops. And people do not see prosecutors as part and parcel of that system. They are part of the policing system. Prosecutors are cops. They are cops. Their job is to charge and win. And when they send you to jail, that is a mechanism of the policing system. That is not separate from. So this whole argument of progressive prosecutors is not this. I mean, it's helped. Right now, there is a network of Black women progressive prosecutors across this country that was developed right around the time that Marilyn Mosby caught those charges. So now, and that's why we see Angela Rye have such a campaign because they were starting that network. So across the country, there are Black women prosecutors who move like Marilyn and Aisha and Kamala, who have created this sort of hub to protect one another as they rise in ascension, which is why I said this is not Marilyn. We will continue to see Marilyn Mosby because she is a part of that group. And she's already has established relationships with the first wife of Marilyn. They're the good Judys, those two. Oh, they're the good Judys. They do lunch, they do brunches.
Wow, Wes Moore's wife is convorting with a convicted felon? Really? Interesting.
So again, I think the dynamics of representation and identity reductionism, which has saved Kamala's ass, we see that play out locally. We see that with mayors, Keisha Lance Bottom, Andre Dickens, Mayor Bowser, everybody in Baltimore, the one in Chicago. London Breed does not get any slack. And what's happening in the Bay Area and San Francisco is abysmal, especially with the housing situation and how they're treated. But London Breed catches no slack. It's like it goes right under the radar because she's a progressive Black woman, right? And I think it's really important that we understand these dynamics because this is the playbook that they have been ushering in the last decade with the Listen to Black Women and Protect Black Women and these kind of particular liberalized narratives under a sort of liberal feminism that was not concrete, but had the sentiment that people can be empathetic to, right? And it's that empathetic sentiment that is now the campaigns for these progressives under the Democratic Party. All of that language, all of that nonprofit language is now everybody's campaign, from the squad to who is to the left of the more moderates to the actual moderates. You will see all kind of flags in the bios. Everybody's pronouns is being pronounced, and we're acknowledging land. And we are still, this is still a white supremacist genocidal country nonetheless. And we're not tackling that actual conditions in which we live in because we have been allowing this sort of propagandized representation to be the actual liberating force and not any sort of organizing against these fronts.
I almost want to cry. I'm very sad.
I'm just speechless at the amount of it's even worse. Like I was saying earlier, it's even worse than when we had Obama. I just feel like it's another level of, it's like, but it's a black woman. You can't be mad at her. It's like, well, of course I can. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. Like if it was Candace Owens, like it's so weird. It's like pick the worst black women you could think of, and it's like, would we protect them? Like, would we stand by them? Like this expectation that simply because Kamala is black and she's getting attacked by the likes of Trump, that default makes us her defenders. I disagree, beloveds. I don't agree with that. Like, nah, her and Trump can square up, the two of them, whatever. But I also don't like how, in some ways, reactionary, let's put it that way, when I hear Trump saying specific stuff about Kamala, and to be clear, it's fuck Kamala, right? But when he's like, oh, she's stupid, she didn't even pass her law exam, and all of a sudden I'm like, but she did pass. And it's like, wait, whoa, stop. I don't, you don't care if she passed, if she didn't fucking pass. I don't want to be reacting and knee-jerk defending Kamala based off the likes of any bullshit being spewed by Trump. You understand? Is that just me?
No,
No,
I think
no.
yeah, to the point that
I
I
think
was
they got me with. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say to the point that I was making, and I'll stop there because I think I talked a lot. But we've seen this primarily, like I I tell people, like, you can't, from the Narnia thing, you can't quote the good book at me. I was there when it was written. So when people tell me about Twitter, I was there from '09. I found Twitter through Tumblr. So I remember Tumblr and how they used particular quotes from Audre Lorde to define, like, there was all these grad students on Tumblr, right? So they're discovering Audre Lorde and they're posting it on Tumblr, but they would never talk about her anti-imperialist work, but primarily the gender aspects of her work, right? And this is how all of these people have been approached. It's always been a sort of gender dynamic on these spaces. And when you step back and take a bird's eye view around the sort of hashtags that were developed and the narratives that were developed, and then you see certain women who have been positioned, certain Black women who have been positioned in these certain spaces to be the voices of, you got to question, what is the utility of these spaces? Has it been a psyop all along? Have we walked into this unknowingly? Because a lot of us, like, I'm going to be 38. If I say I've been here since '09, I've been on Twitter since I was 21, right? So a 21-year-old is not me. 21-year-old me is not recognizing that. But I am empathetic to that as a Black woman. Oh yeah, you're not gonna talk about Black women and Black men, so I can understand that. But there's a particular thing that happened in terms of how that narrative played out and who it uplifted. When you go back and look, listen, or reread, or think through, remember Black Voices from the Huffington Post? There was a lot of liberalism that was pushed through these particular radical narratives, right? And these are people who are individuals tied to no organization. They're discovering all of these Black revolutionaries. They're doing all these quotes, and then they're now there's books out, and now there are pundits on TV, and now they're the voices of. Now they're running for campaigns. I mean, we see Brittany Packer everywhere, don't we? She's on MSNBC all the time.
Oh, wow.
Right? How did that develop?
Yeah.
So it's just things that I like. That's why I'm always apprehensive about TikTok and Twitter, because when you think about 88 million and then you see narratives come out about people who support Kamala calling pro-Palestinian protesters watermelon people, that is not something that I believe developed organically.
Baby Lord Jesus, please give us free. Allah, who else could we ask? Buddha, who else is up there? The Orishas, please set us free, liberate us from this colony in all the God, to the old gods and the new. Amen. Thank you.
I say.
Right, throw it all in. I'm saying. Throw it all in. Rescue us. Where are the Aryans? Come on, not the Aryans. We know where they are. The aliens. I'm sorry.
No, we don't. We're not gonna get it. They're gonna pass by because they're like, World War III.
Too much going on down
I think the whites were deposited by the aliens. I've heard. Y'all have never heard that? Like
the pasties.
The Caucasians are allegedly a virus, right? A virus of humanity that was planted here by the aliens. And look at what they did.
That's an interesting story. We're gonna have to have a conversation on that, LJ.
Yeah.
Around. on the anyway. All right. Make sure that y'all hit that like button, subscribe, and all them different things. This is Women's Wednesday plus me. And yeah. Make sure y'all go to the website and donate, blkliberationmedia.org. Ladies, anything coming up that people need to know about besides 11 o'clock? We'll be right back here, so stay tuned. Me and Kim Brown with a classical breakdown. Music 101. Anything else coming up, ladies?
At noon, also, we'll be back here. I will be talking about Kenya and Haiti. Right here on Black Liberation Media, in conversation with Kamal and some other comrades. On Friday at Nomu Nomu is the second class of that Baltimore Summer School with Black Men Build. We'll be talking about the African struggle against patriarchy. So all is welcome to participate in that conversation. We want to start, as I've been talking about here, these community level conversations, trying to have resolve. How do we continue these conversations beyond the class? So I think it'll be really good. Black Men Build. Joshua will be here in Baltimore presenting on behalf of Black Men Build. So come out. And then Saturday is a double hitter for Batman Atlantic. We have the town hall at Payne Memorial Church at 1 p.m. Doors open at 12:30. We're going to be talking about Flip the Script. So all that we heard here about how much money is going into Israel and how much money is going into policing, we're going to be talking to the community about how do we apply that pressure on politicians or our elected officials to get that money sent back into community. And then back DC and the folks in Malcolm X Grassroots and PACA and others will be having their first Curve Fest in DC. You'll probably catch me there. So please come out. It is at the Black Workers for Justice Center. I don't have that address, but you can go on BapTC's Instagram. That's Bat Washington, DC, or you can go to blackallianceforpeace.com event page and keep up with all the stuff that we're doing.
Nice. And LJ.
Can I give people 2 weeks notice, I guess? There's also Curb Fest in Baltimore on the 31st. I'll be there, so I think it's going to be great. I'm so excited to see folks and meet and learn in person.
All right. And LJ will be joining me this Sunday for Sundays, and we're going to talk about the things you're not supposed to talk about, spirituality and religion. So y'all should tune
that
in.
should be interesting.
I'm hearing of that.
We didn't talk about that?
No, we didn't.
Oh, that's right.
That's how I end up doing 12 o'clock. Him and Kamal. Just because.
I'm working,
once again.
So.
We'll figure it out. All right. 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock. Make sure y'all back here. And y'all can come out if you're in Atlanta and come check me out DJing. We'll be doing the Pan-African Festival with Dead Prez, a bunch of singers, poets, reggae artists, a band, and other DJs. So check it out. All right. With that said, let's go ahead and get to it and get up out of here so we can get ready for our shows in a minute. All right. This is the Remix Morning Show, y'all.
Put my miss that girl.
There you go, LJ. All right.
That girl. Who's that girl?
My name, y'all.
That girl.
KB's that girl.
Want you to know that I am the man who fight for the right and not the wrong.
And we out, y'all.